Hey, Brian from Gosh Hall. Today I have an ultrasonic dog trainer. So let's open a box up and see what we have inside. This is great to train your dogs and also to get them to obey commands. Also helps with them not barking, or a barking deterrent. So in the box you get a lanyard, and then you get a USB charging cable, which is always cool. So let's plug that in and we'll give it some juice. And it doesn't come with a charging block, however you can plug it into any type of USB port that you have. That's the type of connector that we have. And we'll plug it in here and we'll give it some juice. So the plug port is at the bottom. Plug that in, you get a little bit of a red light, and then that will turn on. So basically that's locked position, so that should basically keep it from, making any type of sounds or noise. So you have that middle switch, which will kind of give you a vibration and a light, and then you kind of, I don't know if you can kind of hear that, has that little, so you got a tone, so that's your tone and your little ultrasonic vibration. So you can hear a vibration, but there's a very low undertone pitch. I have pretty sensitive ears, and you can kind of hear that like slight undertone pitch to it. So it's going to be a thing where, and then this is a light, and you have that motion and that underlying pitch. So this is a great way, especially at nighttime, that you can train your dogs to, come to you, stop barking. Then you have the side switch. On it as well. So you have two different, looks like it's two different frequencies. I'm going to read the manual real quick because I looked at it before, and I mean it does a whole bunch of different things. So let's just kind of get it out. And you can see from the manual, it's, I mean, there's like a lot to it. So and it is also to help. Yeah, so that is a 2 frequency switch here on the side. So depending on what you're training and having them respond to. It seems like if it's in the middle, it's kind of like a faster tone that's underneath it. And then this one is more of a steady tone. So this is kind of like a pulsing tone, and then that's a long steady tone, if you can see that switch in there. So pretty neat, and I love the fact it's rechargeable, so you don't have to go looking for batteries or anything else. All you have to do is plug this in to a USB-C cord and it starts to go. And again, it has a lanyard on it, so, and this is the lanyard port. These are always tricky to get in, but usually what I do is I kind of like bend the ends in and just hold it there for a quick second. Then what you can usually do is you can kind of poke it in through the hole. And then you kind of like twist it and push, and then I kind of get it right through. And then you pull up on this, and then we pull it through the lanyard. Okay, so anyway, with any type of training device, just by pressing this is not going to make the dogs, obey your commands. So what you have to do is basically kind of do a reward system with like any training device. Like if you just point it at them and expect this to work, it's probably will be difficult unless you have a super smart dog. They may pick up on it rather quickly, but it is kind of like a rewarding the corrected behavior. So if you want them to stop barking, whatever you're trying to do now, like stop, and then you'd hit this stop. So it would be like a repetitive nature as far as that's concerned. And then once they stop, you obviously stop the device and you reward them with a treat. And then if they start continue to bark again, you basically signal them with this device, and to basically elicit some sort of positive response, basically them stop barking. But again, once you get used to this, you can train them with the different frequencies, the different motions into doing different things. Like to come back to you, to stop barking, a variety of different things. It's up to you what you want to train them with this. But primarily it is for a stop barking deterrent, because kind of like that whole flashing light and that ultrasonic sound, that should be jolting enough to them that they're like, hey, what's going on? It's a new experience, to make them stop barking. But again, it's going to take some positive reinforcement, some training, but it should work pretty quickly rather than just like verbal commands. Anyway, let's go try it out, and we'll see how my dog's response, and we go from there. So stay tuned. So nighttime, but this works pretty good once the dogs are kind of like done doing what they're doing. Just one quick little beep, and they start coming back. All right, good girls. All right, Brian, Sophie, and Sadie from Garage Hall. Thanks for watching, and be safe out there. Okay, so obviously it's tough to get your dog to bark on cue. However, the couple times that they did bark, the training was pretty quick and easy. So as soon as they started barking, we would use the the ultrasonic mode, with the light and the vibration at first, and they kind of really responded well to that. And then towards the end, we just had to do the ultrasonic part, and they would calm down pretty quick. Obviously, you want your dogs to bark to a certain extent, because they are kind of like a alarm system for security. That's kind of like why we have our dogs. Plus, they're great pets. But primarily, you do want them to bark, because their hearing is a lot better than what our hearing is. And this gave them the opportunity to let them bark for a little bit, and then you use the ultrasonic basically device to help them quiet down their barking, and like to know everything that it is okay. Especially at nighttime, you don't want to be screaming out in your backyard for your dogs to be quiet, to stop barking. With this, it worked great as to deter them from barking, as well as for them to come back to the house, which was a super great positive, instead of us calling out in the middle of the night their names and stuff and disturbing our neighbors. But anyway, overall, absolutely love it.